Dwarf Bulborb, a miniature reflection of a mature Bulborb. When you see this little mimic stomping around on its stubby legs, you'll fall in love with the remarkably clever beastie. Such a skilled tiny trickster could mislead anyone. It's born to be adored. Albino Dwarf Bulborb. Among all the naturally charming dwarf bulborbs, this one might have the most attractive and well-balanced conformation. When night falls, the eyes of these fascinating creatures emit an intense glow. Whether to mesmerize prey or help it to spot others of its kind, it's an intriguing adaptation. I could stare into those shining eyes forever. Bulborb. It has wide googly eyes on protruding stalks, a mouth meant to swallow prey in one large gulp, and powerful red and white polka-dotted hindquarters. It's fierce, and yet it's somehow quite endearing. Be wary of getting lured in by its disarming mien. Jumbo Bulborb. Jumbo. That word sets an image in your mind. Being larger than others of its species means its heart is proportionately bigger too, so its devotion to its family also grows. When it savagely bites, it's only doing so to protect those it cares about. The most loving critters can sometimes also be the fiercest. Dwarf Orange Bulborb. An imposter posing as the offspring of an orange bulborb. It resembles the orange bulborb in every way, not just in the obvious shape, but even down to its sharp senses, alert to each sound and movement in its vicinity. What a lovable little impersonator. Orange Bulborb. If you approach it while it's sleeping, it will immediately wake up, leap to its feet, and peer around nervously. With such finely tuned senses, it's no wonder this Bulborb can get a bit sleep-deprived, though its big bloodshot eyes look surprisingly cute. Dwarf Bulbear. This little darling is always with its beloved mother, but when it grows up, she'll drive it away. Though it may seem cruel, she helps it develop the confidence to survive on its own by forcing it to fend for itself. Such practical creatures could teach us a lot about learning to get by in the world. Spotty Bulbear. One glance and you'll never forget them as long as you live. Those unmistakable bold lips. A most distinctive feature the likes of which I've seen nowhere else in the universe. When I gaze upon them, I wonder if the lips serve double duty as a way to feel the world around it, since this cute little cuddler has no fingers. Dwarf Frosty Bulborb. The ice crystals on its back are finely detailed and delightfully iridescent. As a juvenile of the species, it sometimes overproduces that sparkling layer of crystals. One of its parents will then snappity-crack away at the ice so it doesn't weigh the little one down. My heart melts when I see such loving family dynamics out in the wild. Frosty Bulborb. A creature that thrives in the coldest climates, its ice-coated haunches shimmer like a living jewel in the frigid air. You can admire the way it sparkles to your heart's content, but don't get too close. You'll get frosty frozen on the spot if you touch it. Fiery Bulblacks. When I see this blazing beastie, I get a rush of excitement. It's easy to lose track of time while staring fixated at the flame-enshrouded form of the fiery Bulblacks. Its appearance brings to mind ancient molten landscapes from an era before our earliest ancestors. Whip-tongue Bulborb. Its narrow snout houses an amazing prehensile tongue. It sets its sights and slurps its target right up. The sweet little bean uses this marvel of evolution with great skill. Any creature with a dexterous tongue like that is unlikely to ever go hungry. Bulborb Larva. A toddling infant that anyone would love. With the body and delicate skin of a newborn, this cute little button is sensitive to all stimuli. Whatever you do around it must be done slowly, gently, and quietly. As adorable as this baby is, you might be tempted to embrace it, but don't! You could squish the fragile darling. Empress Bulblacks. The striking polka dots along that expansive hide provide the very image of royal splendour. While that regal presence essential for queenly quality might throw you off your guard, her grand lumpy figure has more than just visual impact. When provoked, this charmer will roly-poly over and squash any threats. Approach with the utmost caution. Emperor Bulblacks. It has broad moss-covered flanks and a head like a desert, complete with big drooping jowls and small googly eyes. This creature appears to be quite moody, but it does have a cooperative streak. The way this temperamental, bulbous giant cohabitates with others of its kind is quite surprising. Sovereign Bulblacks. The value a living creature has within its ecosystem has no relation at all to how big or small it is. That being said, this massive mountain of a critter is truly majestic. Not only does it have the courage and means to lay waste to any opponent, It also has a roar that could make the boldest traveller start to tremble in their spacesuit. Fiery Blowhog. You'll recognise it by its plump bottle-shaped torso and round, bright red mouth. Have you ever seen such an adorable creature? But no matter how cute it seems, when observing this species you had best remain behind it. Otherwise, you could end up in its path when it spits a gout of flame and get cooked right up. Watery Blowhog. Though it looks a lot like its flame-spewing counterpart, remember that blue around the mouth is for water and red is for fire. Keep that in mind and you can avoid being unpleasantly surprised. A watery blowhog shower to wash away all your dirt and woes at the end of the day doesn't sound so bad. Snowy Blowhog. What's that? You think the different types of blowhog all look the same? You need to look a bit closer. For example, this little fellow has light yellow eyes and an aquamarine body with turquoise lips and blue nails. It all comes together to create a unique appearance designed to give anyone the chills. Titan Blowhog. Massive gouts of flame blow out from that gigantic body with astonishing force, enough to make you think of a volcanic eruption. This critter exhibits the power of nature's fury. One can be truly overwhelmed by the sight of the Titan Blowhog's raging torrents of fire. Blizzarding Blowhog. This creature blows out an unending gale of freezing blizzard-like winds. Talk about lung capacity. With this hulking darling around, we could cool down those hot summer days in an instant. Although, it does exhale carbonic acid. Maybe that's not such a good idea after all. Tusked Blowhog. Setting its unwavering sights on its target, it makes a ferocious mad dash at full speed. Even if you hit it really hard, you won't slow down this bold beastie. It single-mindedly carries through its actions with an unwavering focus that inspires me to improve my focus on my own tasks. Armoured Cannon Larva. This little creature will spew a giant stone ball, what some call an odama, when it feels threatened. A reliable cultural document assures me similar items were used as weapons in ancient wars. Maybe this creature is using it in the same way to fight the war for its survival. Horned Cannon Beetle. Its giant shiny black carapace is one of the precious stones of the natural world. When it lifts its ebony wings, the briefly visible flesh beneath creates a striking colour contrast. This is a living work of art that transcends the imagination. Arctic Cannon Larva. Whether or not there's snow on the ground, when this surprising sweetie comes around you can have a snowball fight anytime. But don't expect it to go easy on you. You're in for a one-sided defensive battle, and you might end up looking like a snowman by the end. Arctic Cannon Beetle. A beautiful armoured bug that sparkles like a diamond. The sight of it busily tromping along, the way it sucks in air and spews out snowballs, everything about it is remarkable. While standing transfixed by its stunning appearance, you'll end up covered in snow for sure. Female Sheargrub. This little one's primary food source is secretions from Ambuloridices like Pikmin. To fill the bellies of so many sheargrubs, there must be a healthy population of Ambuloridices creatures in this world. It's through sheargrubs like this that we get a glimpse of the hidden secrets of the planet. Male Sheargrub. With its powerful jaws, the male sheargrub can secure more food than the female, but it doesn't keep it all for itself. Right now, in the ground under our feet, mated sheargrub pairs are sharing food with each other. What a generous, snuggly grub. Mama Sheargrub. Since it's exceptionally large, when it squirms to move or wriggles minutely side to side to dig its whole body into the ground like a drill, you can observe it in all its exceptional detail. The way it moves is quite enchanting to watch. If only we could super-duper size all creatures like this. Shearwig. It may be small, but it's full of vim and vigour. It hovers in mid-air, then zips straight to its target. And once it has prey in its jaws, it locks on tight and won't let go. The Shearwig, a cunning and fierce survivor, has a death grip on my heart and soul. Shearflea. If you find any of these busy little bouncers happily hopping about, try jumping in with them. If you do, they may just come to you for cuddles. They're such sweet little love bugs. Joustmite. The eyeball-like pattern on its shell reminds me of my father's eyes staring at me after we buried him in sand at the beach. We dug him out immediately when he gave us that look. Makes it easy to imagine what an effective deterrent those staring eyes must be to natural predators like birds. Flighty Joustmite. With a countenance like a little helmet-wearing soldier, it zips up to set its sights from the sky, then strikes its target. This captivating critter is truly a pro. It's unfortunate that when it flies up in the air, you can't see the clever false eyes on its shell or its charming face anymore. Swooping Snitchbug. If you were swept up and then tossed away by those long dangling arms, I think you'd better understand what it feels like to be a Pikmin. A little courage is all you need to give it a try. Consider it a learning experience. Skitterleaf. In both its vibrant spring colour and precise shape, this cunning crawler looks just like a leaf. It's the perfect camouflage. It only becomes an issue when this sometimes careless critter forgets to look for a hiding place with an abundance of other green leaves lying around. Then it becomes quite easy to spot. Desiccated Skitterleaf. This one is a master of disguise, provided the season is right. As a fun little game, try collecting a bunch of dried leaves, then shuffle Mr. Desiccated Skitterleaf in with them. If you pick out a normal leaf, you lose, but if you pick this clever critter, you win big. Feeling lucky? Fiery Dweevil. That perfectly polished crimson colour, like something hand-finished by a true master craftsman, is a feast for the eyes. This brilliant colour is actually made through layer upon layer of very fine fibres being stacked together. Nature is the most skilled crafter. Anode Dweevil. We don't wake up every day feeling as good as we want to, but the bright fruity colour of this little charmer sure makes me feel like I got my vitamins for the day. You might be able to loosen up your stiff muscles with this Dweevil's therapeutic electric shocks too. Hydro Dweevil. It's bewitching to behold the way it skitters around on those long, slender lapis lazuli blue legs while carrying treasure on its back. If, in an excess of excitement, you reach out a hand to touch it, a startling splash should deter you. Be calm and quiet around this beastie. Ice-blown Dweevil. Achoo! It's always important to keep your cool, but my proximity to this frosty darling may be making me a bit too cold. Just one blow from this critter as it skitters about on its icy long legs is quite chilling indeed. Venom Dweevil. Is this just another different colour of Dweevil? Not at all. You see here a fashion leader of the critter world. There was once a purple one as well, but this year's trendy colour is green. Be sure to bring protective gear to see it though. This skittering sweetie can produce a toxic gas if threatened. Arachnode. It has an agreeable personality, and as long as a meal doesn't get caught in its web, it will sit there curled up into a cuddly ball and waiting. You'll have to throw some food or even use yourself as bait if you wish to see it moving. What a leisurely method of hunting. Baldy Longlegs. If you lie down and look up while this hulking critter is walking over, you'll be treated to an impressive view of its giant round body soaring past like an orbiting planet. Of course, you may get squished flat by one of its massive feet and become a star yourself. Man-at legs. Having a body made up of living cells, a metabolism, and the ability to produce offspring might be considered necessary traits to determine if something is truly alive, but this rapid-fire cannon blows away conventional definitions. Is it a machine and a creature? What a fascinating possibility. Groovy Longlegs. With mesmerizing lights that pierce through the darkness and a low groove that stirs your soul, how can you not get your dance on? Is it a creature or a machine? Who cares? Everyone can join this party. A word of caution though. Be careful you don't dance right under one of its feet. Anode Beetle. With this little darling around, outer space's power problems are solved. These generate enough energy to light up the night and help people live comfortably on the most ragingly hot or frigidly cold planets. It'll cost to feed them, but that's a minor detail. Iridescent Flint Beetle. This scuttling little one is a good luck talisman you'd be happy to encounter. If you're fortunate enough to come upon one, make a wish before it leaves. The way its iridescent carapace changes colour depending on the angle you view it from is so distracting that I often forget to wish for something. Doodlebug. Whoa, that reeks! It reeks so bad! These uncouth little stinkers are always passing gas whenever and wherever, but that also means they're easy to track down. Of course, nobody can stand to get close if they do find one. It's a brilliant defense mechanism. Iridescent Glint Beetle. The golden shine on its gleaming carapace really is gold. It's in this little darling's nature to collect gold from the soil. As you might expect, it's extremely rare to see one in person. I'd never hurt it, so I hope to have one appear before me someday. Mitite. The cheeky Mitite lays its eggs inside the eggs of other creatures to provide its offspring with an easy first meal. When they come wriggling and squiggling out, it's spine-chilling. But you can't blame the newly hatched larvae. After all, you might enjoy an egg or two yourself now and then. Skutterchuck. Watching it move around on the very tips of its tippy toes is like watching a ballet. If you offer to be a dance partner for this little spiky toad sweetie, it will leap high in the sky. I bet this agile creature will have no trouble sticking the landing. Skate. Clean water is a necessity for this water-walking sweetheart, and a lot of it at that. In water soiled with oils, detergents or other pollutants, it could lose the surface tension that supports its specially evolved feet and drown. This is an extraordinary creature that could only exist on such a water-rich planet. Muckerskate. This cautious critter moves in fits and starts. When it does, the muddy liquid in its transparent orb sloshes around. Splish, splash, sploosh. If I could observe this unique anatomy up close, I'd have no regrets, even if I got spattered with mud. White Spectralids. In the same way it stops on a petal when flitting around a garden full of flowers in bloom, it will alight without hesitation on things like a sleeping bulborb. What an audacious little daredevil. Yellow Spectralids. After flitting around all over the place, the wing beats of a little Spectralid can cause a tornado on the other side of the world. Or so some have said. What I wonder is how much influence did these charmers have on our being on this planet right now? Red Spectralids. Spectralid wings have a lot of fine powder on them. By building up in many different layers, it gives them a sparkle with complexity and depth. This little fellow's powder also has some ultra spicy essence in it for a zestier effect. Snowfake Fluttertail. Please don't call it a flying snowman. The sight of it flying around with its magnificent wings, scattering ice like diamonds, evokes thoughts of a snow sprite. Witness this beauty of nature, and let it soothe away all of your woes and anxiety. Creeping Chrysanthemum. Let's have a Creeping Chrysanthemum show, why don't we? We'll gather hand-raised Creeping Chrysanthemums and have a contest based on size, flower colour, things like that. They're half animal, so maybe a behaviour category too? Of course, how could the judges even choose a winner? Each specimen is so beautiful in its own way. Startle Spore. These don't just mimic a growth of mushrooms for the fun of catching you by surprise, they also use the opportunity to spread poison around quite indiscriminately. But that's just this little darling's idiosyncratic method for catching its prey. We could learn from the way nature embraces such unique and varied creatures. Breadbug. It looks like your breakfast table's longtime staple. A loaf of bread with perfect colour and buttery shine. Just from looking at it, I swear the aroma of baking wafts past my nose. But you've never seen your bread loafing about like this. If you observe them for a while, you might catch them dragging things around with their mouths. It's heart-meltingly adorable. Giant Breadbug. Perfectly cooked, golden brown and fluffy. It must be a fresh-baked loaf of bread. Oh, my mistake! This is the wildly unique giant breadbug, with the texture and vibrancy only a living creature can possess. Don't let your eyes and gut deceive you. This lumbering muffin might just take offence if you mistake it for a loaf of fresh bread. Gildamandwee. With one little gold-coloured stone on its back, it toddles about, lantern flickering cheerfully. It doesn't intentionally deceive Pikmin or our senses. They just respond to that gold-coloured stone. Only the adults tend to be intentionally deceptive in this world or any other. Gildamander. Notice the gold sparkles on its back. In order to survive, this delight of a creature spends a mind-boggling amount of time collecting those special gold stones. Though it isn't real gold, it can confuse the senses. That's another marvel of the natural world for you. Miniature Snootwhacker. The way it catches its food, protects its belly, and gets up while working with the weight of its sizable trunk are all taught by its diligent parents. Instead of hand and foot, they attend to their offspring nose and foot. They prepare the child for the day it will leave the nest and eventually become a parent itself. Mammoth Snootwhacker. If you get close, it will whip its trunk around and around, then smash it on the ground. It might be a chance for an exciting jump rope workout. If you try throwing a bomb at it, it will use that dexterous trunk to shoot it right back at you. Those are some nose skills that it could impress any athlete. Sunsquish. This peculiar little button has the perfect texture and coloration to pass as an egg fried sunny side up by a master chef. There's nothing about it that makes it seem threatening, and it looks so yummy. I can't help thinking of a delicious breakfast when I see it. Foolix. If you take the microorganisms I used to peer at through my microscope as a child and blow them up much, much bigger, this is what you get. A huge single-celled sweetie. It blorpily sloshes around in search of food. To this giant, we're the microorganisms. Downy Snagret. The sight of this wee one boinging around and pecking at its food all while skillfully balanced on its one leg is truly awe-inspiring. If you get too close, it might feel vulnerable and give you a warning poke with its beak. Or it might just turn to you for comfort. Burrowing Snagret. Instead of the sky, this scaly anomaly flies through the ground. When it pops its head to the surface, the way its crown of feathers fluffs, though intended to make it more intimidating, is delightful to behold. But be wary of lingering to gaze up at it, as you'll likely get the poking of a lifetime from that long, sharp beak. Waddlequaff. It possesses a bottomless stomach and will swallow down anything and everything unfortunate enough to end up in its path. It will even consume things larger than its own body without missing a step. The best part is its goofy little head that looks just like a fuzz-covered gourd. Scorch Cake. In a way, it looks kind of like a tasty treat, but in actuality this burning bivalve relative is a fierce hunter, squashing its prey with a fiery flourish. The beauty of its popping, crackling flames and the dynamic cartwheels it can perform in battle is a spectacle to behold. Shock Cake. Living creatures can sense your intent and emotions, so if you face them with love in your heart, they'll know it. When you love and are loved back, even the occasional electric shock isn't so bad. That's right, instead of play biting, this sweetie does play shocking. It can zap away shoulder stiffness and fatigue in a flash. Freeze Cake. The way its blue-white shell is woven through with cracks makes it look like a porcelain coaster. What's more, it's cold enough to keep your drink chilled. Of course, this remarkable critter is very much alive and would flip-flop your drink right over. Puffstool. Come, let us ponder the puffstool. This devious little being releases spores that have a hallucinogenic effect on Pikmin. At the first inhale, affection sprouts and they are drawn in closer. Then they breathe in more and more of the confusion-inducing spores. Soon they think of nothing but the puffstool as they jump around. Boing, boing, boing. Toxstool. See how it toddles and bounces on its wee little footsies as it goes for a stroll, scattering extremely toxic spores along the way? This creature is a walking nuisance, but there's an odd kind of charm in that bothersome nature that makes it hard to leave alone. Mouldy Dwarf Bulborb. Picture this scenario. Like this poor darling, you're conscious but no longer in control of your own body. Someone or something else has taken you over. A horrifying concept, isn't it? But what if the thing controlling you couldn't live if it didn't do that? Sometimes it's simply a matter of survival. Mouldy Slooch. Slugger, slugger, choo choo! Here comes the fungal spore train! The miasma emitting from the fungus on its back has toxstool spores in it. If you must observe it, do so from as far away as possible, or risk ending up as a fungal choo choo too. Pyroclasmic Slooch. The mucus of the Pyroclasmic Slooch acts as a natural fire starter, but it also seems to serve as insulation from heat. Gazing into those flickering flames at night would be a great way to relax, and the ripple pattern going from top to bottom is so mesmerizing. Bearded Amprat. This little cutie has a long beard that makes it look a bit curmudgeonly, but if you were to try brushing it, do so with caution. This dear one will, well, see for yourself. Move in close to get a good look. A truly shocking experience awaits you. Mamuta. A gentle creature removed from the fierce competition of the strong eating the weak. It sits in gardens in a pool of sunlight, looking content as it gazes out its big round eyes at a plant it has raised that's just starting to sprout. Don't tease this mild-mannered beastie by messing with the delicate sprouts it's tending. Porquillian. When it cowers down to roll up, it looks like it's feeling lonely. If you get closer, the needles all over its body become projectiles that it will launch at you. I can't help thinking this is just a plea for attention. It's okay, Prickly Bean. I'll be your friend. Honeywisp. This cutie swims through the air with a heavy-looking nectar egg dangling below its translucent body on its way back to its nest where its offspring await lunch. Nectar is a vital source of nutrition that most life on this planet depends on. Whether it's in the form of an egg yolk, sap, or honey, I leave up to your imagination. Puffy Blowhog. See those prominent spines upon its back? I like to imagine that if you looped ropes through them and hung a gondola from the ropes, you could create a living airship. How amazing it would be to travel the sky with one of these spiky sweetlings. We'd float along together wherever the wind chose to take us. Icy Blowhog. This frosty flyer may exhale frigid breath, but you can touch it without having to worry about freezing. Its face remains quite cool, but it expels warm air from the little holes on its sides. If you're feeling chilled, you could sidle up next to this little one. Withering Blowhog. You can have a bit of fun with this one by giving it a good poke and watching it wobble and sway through the air like a balloon. Poke it too much though and it may spew gas and fly off. It's a mischievous little darling, and the way it scatters flowers and cackles is quite charming. Lesser Spotted Jellyfloat. Notice the elegant way it floats and its delicate transparency? The mystical sky blue colour always catches my gaze and won't let go. Even when the drifting darling sucks up Pikmin, it doesn't eat them but gently envelops them. What a sweetheart. Greater Spotted Jellyfloat. This lovely floating critter sucks up food by stretching and contracting its body. It's hard to imagine such a graceful creature could be of this world. It would be rather exciting to get sucked in with all the treasures and Pikmin to float on forever, but if that really happened, I wouldn't be of this world for long either. Walpole. While watching it swim to and fro, fatigue and time just melt away. I'm able to relax this much, even on an unknown planet at the ends of the universe, because observing this aquatic beastie takes me back to the waterfront in my hometown when I was a child. Yellow Wollyhop. Don't think of it as unexciting. This critter's simplicity is quite refreshing. Should you raise one from a walpole, you would certainly learn to adore it. The adults of the species can be a bit standoffish though. Wollyhop. With a distinct pallor, almost like it was painted with white face paint, it gives off an air of a performing mime. This cutie can jump with quiet refinement, never moving its plump jowls at all. It's graceful and expressive in the most unexpected ways. Chillyhop. Slick and bulbous with a refreshingly frank face. That's one classy hopper. When it lands after jumping, it spills out cold air all around it. Mischievous and cool? This little fella needs to leave some personality for the rest of us. Master Hop. Wiggly elastic skin is the proper fit for this bouncing beauty. Slippery smooth and shiny sleek, its skin is soft as a baby's cheeks. Though you might want to be wary of getting close enough to touch it. Just watching it move will make you yearn for skin that is more radiantly lustrous too. Water Dumple. This odd critter lost its vision, but it evolved a very sharp sense of smell to compensate. Even if you sneak up behind it very quietly, it will still detect you. But with a mouth that opens up big and wide, approaching from the front isn't advisable either. Puckering Blinnow. These form a group and then swim gracefully along together as though joined in an underwater dance. Are they a family or travelling as a school? It might be enlightening to watch them with a submersible camera. Very quietly so they don't notice. Pricklepuff. To watch it swimming dreamily along, then spot it again walking plip-plop in tidal flats. The contrast is so great I can only admire its adaptability. But don't be drawn in by its cute round little peepers. Much like a rose, the Pricklepuff has very sharp thorns. Waddlepuss. This accomplished napper can snore away a whole day, but just watching the peaceful look on its snoozing face conveys a feeling of contentment. Also, if you get up close enough, it can blow bubbles that will envelop you. Have a fun float, it's like dreaming! Aristocrab Offspring. It pokes its little eyes just a bit out of the sand and stays very still, waiting patiently for us to come by. Even if we know they're hiding there, it's best to act surprised and give them a good shout of alarm. That's the best way to help them feel successful in their endeavours. Peckish Aristocrab. Click, click, click goes the crab's pincer as it tries to impress other crabs. The crab with the biggest claw will be the most popular. Being popular means not having to work as hard to claw their way to the top of the crustacean hierarchy. The natural world is a lot like our world in that way. Grubchucker. The mouth on top of its head is somehow chic and ostentatious at the same time. Combined with the way it carries its claws like it's ready to give you a trim, this cutie looks like the charismatic beautician of the creature world, though the way it tosses its food in the air shows rather poor etiquette. Hermit Crawmad. Here we have one of the cleverest of creatures. It has many different nest holes that all connect below ground. Using this network, it can move from hole to hole to sneak up on prey or evade predators. A smart little darling indeed. Bug-eyed Crawmad. Its peepers aren't just big, they're capable of seeing things our eyes can't. This bug-eyed darling could identify all sorts of unknown objects for us if we showed it what to look at. How useful could that be? Crusted Rumpup. With a red carapace curved like a jaunty sun hat and a tail sporting vivid yellow tufts, this critter is a natural illustration of good fashion. But its face and personality exhibit only true ferocity. It will open its mouth wide and charge you with alarming speed. The juxtaposition of artistic exterior coupled with an aggressive attitude is intriguing. Pearly Clamclamp. On sand hills or in the sea, wherever it may be, it never moves from its spot. It will sit and wait for someone to wander past. Someone being prey, preferably, though it could also be someone who knows the value of the beautiful shell or the pearl it holds nestled inside. Toady Bloister. Cute little marble-like eyes, a smooth undulating body, a big curvy mouth, a tongue that extends and separates into 6 parts, gills like fruit from a plant. Sit a moment and take it all in. Sometimes it's fun to simply appreciate how a creature that can do so much damage can still be such an adorable addition to our universe. Bloomcap Bloister. With a peaked carapace and undulating mouth, it goes around cleaning up everything in its path. It's the organic vacuum cleaner of the natural world. If you startle it, it opens its top like an umbrella, which can be quite a surprise to whoever is watching. Bog Swallow. It pops up out of the mud, often with no warning, to say hello. With a body like a hose and a big round mouth, it sates its appetite by feeding on the mud itself. Its 6 bright eyes mean it's sure to see the fondness we have for it 6 times better. I hope it eats up all that unending affection. Water Wraith. A living thing is a living thing, even if it transcends our understanding. This unnerving creature is translucent and has no actual physical body to speak of. Yet somehow it clutches its rollers with zealous devotion. It's both eerie and fascinating, don't you agree? Smoky Progg. In the night above ground or the dark passages below, you'll suddenly notice an egg. If you leave the egg alone, a being of terror is born out of it. A mysterious fiend dragging itself along. But I feel like this misunderstood deer may be trying to communicate with us. Perhaps its tale is a sad one. Ancient Sirehound. A coat that's dense and rough like a primeval forest, a stench like a wet canine, and a shockingly toasty body temperature. Clearly a dog in every sense. The long history of dogs being companions we can rely on triggers an instinctive reaction through our entire bodies. If I were left on this planet with this massive cutie, I'd be content. Moss. Ochi and Moss are 2 peas in a pod. It's quite unprecedented that a space dog should meet such a familiar creature on a far-off unknown planet. You could even call it miraculous. Could they be siblings separated at birth? No, that's just not possible. Red Pikmin. These peppy little darlings are a vivid scarlet red. As you can tell by their appearance, these critters are very passionate. In fact, they're such hotheads that they're immune to fire. Even their displays of affection are ardent. They'll beat their tiny fists on you in an abundance of enthusiasm. Yellow Pikmin. Look at the extraordinarily big pointy ears on the adorable yellow Pikmin. I doubt you can whisper a secret they won't hear. Try throwing one. They can easily retrieve objects for you from places you can't reach. Also, electricity doesn't faze them at all. They're shockingly useful little guys. Blue Pikmin. It wouldn't be overstating to say that watching these Pikmin navigate the water with the grace of a fish is one of the most lovely things to behold on this whole planet. But if you really want to see them swimming, you'll need to offer them some live bait. Rock Pikmin. Rock Pikmin may be rugged and craggy in appearance, but their well-polished skin is cool and smooth to the touch. Those dark, shiny stone bodies are built for defense, and they're capable attackers too. And did you notice those stubby little legs? Aren't they the cutest? Winged Pikmin. These peculiar little flyers look like they're wearing goggles. Don't be put off by their odd appearance though. Places that seem like dead ends, such as treacherous roads, lakes, swamps and sheer cliffs, are nothing to them when they're not carrying anything. With a few flaps of their tiny wings, they flit through the air like fierce fairies. Ice Pikmin. With the frigid air welling up endlessly from inside their icy bodies, they can freeze anything at all. If you throw enough of them in a pond, they'll freeze the surface so solidly that you can walk right across it. They're just like little ice wizards. White Pikmin. These tiny white Pikmin can dart about quite swiftly. Their bold red eyes are as charming as they are startling. Like a flower that has sharp thorns, these cute little ones possess a potent poison. Such small critters need to be tough to survive. Purple Pikmin. It's a profoundly heavy feeling holding a living thing in your arms. It can be overwhelming to realize this thing is really alive. That said, these little ones have a density to them that makes them extremely heavy. To hold them at all is difficult, but don't worry, they're strong enough that they can hold you. Onion. The majesty of nature, the mystery of life. I feel that these stale cliches can't fully express the extraordinary symbiotic relationship between Pikmin and onions. Is there a connection here of an affectionate nature, perhaps? There's so much we still don't know. Flalic. Dice finely, grate, saute in oil. I can barely stand the grumbling in my tummy right now. But when you see one of these shiver or twitch, you'll realize that this is a living thing, and we must treat it with consideration as such. Candy Pop Bud. The longer I look at it, the more I feel a strange urge to throw something into it. Succumbing to the intrusive thought, I once threw a bomb into one. When I did, patooey! It spit the bomb right back out! I can't help seeing some sort of lifelike response in that. Pellet Posy. The pellet cradled in its petals changes colours like some form of chameleon, aligning to match the colour of nearby Pikmin. It's almost as though it's inviting us to come harvest it to make more. Even though it appears to be helping out, it's really just using us to spread its seeds. Burgeoning Spiderwort. This fruit, unlike a pellet, is juicy and pulpy. What's more, that's not just any juice inside it. There's a super spicy spice in there. Eating spicy things can be a fun way to jumpstart our taste buds. Perhaps the Pikmin in this world like to spice things up as well. Glow Pikmin. Here you are, far from home, stranded on a strange planet with a night even more dangerous than the unforgiving day. But in that night, the faint, gentle light given off by these gloriously glowing little beans brings hope to our adventures. That shine is a beacon of life that we recognize in our hearts. Luminol. Nature is a high-risk, high-reward type of environment. The Luminol braves the danger, risking self-destruction to emit a light that lures creatures so it can propagate more glow Pikmin using glow pellets. But is that all? Could the glow sap also be luring us?